In NXT, we work 6 days a week. So we see each other every day. Triple H, he came down here every NXT show. He was a very nice person. Every time when we do a team meeting, he's very motivational. Yeah, we guys doing good. And
like this show? Then rate it 5 stars and subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Uncool is a podcast by Creatives at Work. It is produced, written, and hosted by Sean Lee Win Chong and co-hosted by Yenling Lo, co-produced by Raven Lim, and edited by Ray Ng. Uncool. It's cool to be uncool.
Okay, so Yenling, you know that I am a fan of wrestling. And I actually watch too much wrestling. I'm very excited because we have alumni from the WWE right here. We have Ho Ho Lun, and I think that's very cool.
Yes, Ho Ho Lun is Hong Kong's first WWE wrestler, and WWE of course stands for World Wrestling Entertainment. And recently, he was also on AEW, All Elite Wrestling, where he wrestled a dark match. And he's been wrestling a lot in Asia, from Japan to Singapore, of course, Hong Kong, and all the way into America as well. So Ho Ho, tell us, how did you get into wrestling? What started you down this path to being Ho Ho Lun, the wrestling superstar?
thank you for having me here for this interview. So I actually started wrestling 2009. My first match was in 2009. But then I start training actually in 2007. At that time, I already a huge fan of wrestling, where in Hong Kong there's Japanese wrestling and WCW that was on Hong Kong TV. You watched WCW before, eh?
That is the NWO
Yes,
thing.
yes, that generation. That was like in the late 90s, early 2000. Yeah, I was a big wrestling fan since a kid. So 2007, there's a Chinese guy from China, this city called Dongguan, which is about 1 hour and a half away from Hong Kong. He studied in Korea for university. So at the same time, he was training with a Korea wrestling school for a couple of years. He haven't perform in Korea yet because he only trained for 2 years. But then he finished his university, so he come back to China and find out that there's no wrestling company in China. So he decided to make one. That was 2006, 2007, and internet was just start getting popular. So I decided to travel back and forth every weekend to start learn some of the basics of wrestling. So this guy, his ring name is Slam, like Body Slam, the Slam. That's his ring name. And
you won't forget that, yeah.
yeah, and he become the legend of Chinese wrestling now because he's the first person who created this. I've learned that for about 2 years. Then I found out we should do one in Hong Kong. That time I was a 20 years old kid, still studying university. We have a website that time. That time is not website. What do you call that? Discussion forum.
It's not even a website, it was just a forum inside.
Yeah,
Another forum.
There's a discussion forum where we meet once a month to watch WWE pay-per-view. At that time we don't have internet streaming. We order DVDs from America. We order that, ship it to Hong Kong, and then we have a party room, like a karaoke room, and then to watch that together. And then of course we watch that, and then we try to slam each other after watching it for a while in a karaoke room.
In the karaoke room itself.
Yeah. But then, yeah, this idea come out that we should make a ring in Hong Kong and do it more properly. So that's how I started. But then the training, actually, the training that I received in China is very basic. And then we create that ring in Hong Kong. We also don't know the actual way how to train. So most of the training program come from guessing. Like I guess this gonna be right.
Guess.
Yeah.
Oh.
We guessed that.
Trial and error.
We guessed that for about a year, and then I decided this is not right. So I should, travel to some places, to see what the actual training is like. So in 2010, I traveled to England, signed up for wrestling school. That wrestling school is called 4FW, which eventually, become one of the best wrestling school in the UK. So I trained there. The first week I was there, I found out that, wait a minute, the training that I guess in Hong Kong was actually 80% right. Because, when you lock up with your opponent, when you start slamming with your opponent, you knew with the feeling, wait a minute, this feeling is actually exactly the same that I had in Hong Kong. So were I right or were I wrong? I don't know. But I was there for half a year and then, proved myself that that's 80%, 90% that was right. And during that 6 months, I was also invited to a lot of independent wrestling show. In the UK, there's not a lot of money. I did most of the show is like kid show. It's like 100 people, but half of them are kid. And when you wrestle, they just running around. They just have no patience to sit down in a chair to watch you wrestle. So this is how I started.
Did you know that you could also have a spot on the Uncool podcast? Drop us an email at contact@creativesatwork.asia to find out about the sponsorship and collaboration opportunities available. Back then, did you think as well, like, I want to be a pro wrestler? Or was it just something that you were doing for fun, like pure fun?
I did it for fun. I don't have this idea about being a professional wrestler one day until I actually wrestle in the UK. So before all that, I thought this is just a fun thing. It is still a fun thing to do. But, before I travel to the UK, I have never thought I can become a wrestler, as my full-time career.
Wow. So it's like a dream come true in some ways.
Yes, when the dream become your full-time career, it is a career now. It is like not a dream anymore.
This was roughly, 2009, 2010, this story told us.
Yes, and then 2011, 2012, since I start wrestle a lot of independent in the UK, I got invited from Japan as well to wrestle there. And then I have this idea, I should do this full-time. And then from 2012, I quit my full-time job and become full-time doing this.
So you had a full-time job
Yeah,
before.
what were you doing? What were you doing before, full-time wrestling?
I was a salesperson in a hotel. And then I was a research person in a university.
So no wonder you can get 80% correct because you have a researcher background. So maybe when you did you research and then that's how you meet your guests.
Maybe.
What did you study in college?
I study advertising and communication. A graduate, I work there sometime as a tutor, sometime as a research assistant. So I research about consumer, how do you call that? Consumer buying pattern, something like that.
I see.
So that's the
okay.
thing that I research in. And then after that, I just feel bored. And then I work in a hotel, work as a salesperson. So after I worked there for like 6 months, the hotel decided to shut down the sales department. This is the fate that maybe bring me to become a full-time wrestler. Then
This is
after
a
the job, I
sign.
don't find a new job anymore.
I'm very curious to know since you mentioned what your past and all that. If I were to go to your old schools, and look at your report card and see what your teachers wrote about you, what would they say? And did they ever think that this boy is going to become wrestling superstar?
I start my high school maybe like 2000 and then graduate 2005, something like that. I was a very average student in, how to call that, in points, in grade. I was a very average student. I was not the top. I was not the worst. I was, in the middle. But I'm a little bit, crazy. I don't listen to my teacher much. And sometimes if I hear something that is not my belief, I just go stand up and challenge my teacher. Students in Hong Kong, they used to, just sit down and listen. And when the teacher say one, they don't say two, But I'm the one that when teachers say one, why it is not two? Why is not ABC? Is why you said 1, 2, 3? Why you don't say ABC? Then I'm those sort of student. But then that time I already like wrestling a lot. So during break time, lunchtime, I put on a few tables and make it like a ring and start, slamming with my classmates. And then like 5 minutes before the break time's over, I'm gonna reset it back to a classroom setting. That's how I grew up. I love watching wrestling since very, very young, and I do that during break time in school. And all my friends know that. All my friends know that I like wrestling, but it's quite surprised that I actually like wrestling until it become my full-time job.
How is it right now, right? That a hobby has become a career. A lot of people say do not turn your hobby into a career. I mean, that's for art as well, right? A lot of people, that's why they prefer not to sell their artwork, not to sell their craft. How is it like for you, wrestling, something that you love doing?
At first, I want to become a wrestler, but then the time passed, and then I developed, I established a different kind of, goals. So at first, I want to become a wrestler, and then my goals is, being a producer for wrestling show is also, very interesting. Which is still, one of my goals right now. To produce show in Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore as well. I have this idea to produce a show in Singapore, which may actually happen next year. Bring some good wrestling to the Asian fans, because in Asia, wrestling is not a very popular sport. But this is the best and the most interesting thing that I think that exists in Earth. So I want to, share my joy to the rest of the people who have never watched wrestling before. That's why I want to produce more show, bring the best that wrestling can get, from America, from Japan, to them to see live. Because to seeing live is very different from watching it on TV, because you got the camera angle, and then you watch the camera, you got a commentator disturbing you. But in real, if you watch it live, you got to interact with the wrestler. You shout hey hey hey, and the wrestler, they're more motivated when you shout. I've done this for a lot of years, producing shows, and there's a lot of big company, the hardware, like the lightings, the stage, and the smoke effect that you see when they enter the ring. So these are the production things. But some smaller company, is the wrestler who do all the installing job as well.
What? Oh, wow.
Yeah, for smaller company, because some of them, they like SPW, you watch SPW, right? They're quite good, because they have their staff. They hire like contractor staff to, build the lighting, build the stage and everything. Some smaller company, which I see a lot in Japan, they have the wrestler who arrive the venue like 6 hours before the show, set up the ring, as well as set up the lightings and the stage and everything.
Wow.
Then they go and wrestle. Wow.
And then they go and wrestle, and then they take it
You
down,
listen,
and then they
listen.
travel to the next town and do the show the next day.
Oh my
man.
goodness.
It's like really DIY.
Yeah.
Do it yourself.
Yeah, but actually, if you do it like every time, we can do, like in Japan, the company that I wrestle in called Dragon Gate. Some of the small shows we don't require very good lighting, because there's very house show setting for 100 fans in a small town. But for this kind of show, we don't hire outsourced staff. Everything we do by ourselves. We build the ring, we build the the entrance, the entrance walkway, everything.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's very like bootstrapping, and I feel like the dedication that's going into it.
Wait, but
is
actually,
on
I tell
another
you what,
level.
I enjoy putting all this together than the wrestling match itself. In fact,
Really? Why? Why?
I don't know why. Other than the hotel salesman job and the teacher job that I did in the past, I was also stage. How do you call that?
Like
the-
stage crew
stage-
and then the
stage-
setup
Yeah,
technician.
I was a stage crew for maybe like 6 months. So that's something I quite enjoy doing.
So when you told your parents this, right? Because I think also Singapore, Hong Kong, we are quite similar in the sense that we all a lot Asian mindset and all. So when you tell your parents, hey, okay, so I'm going to be a wrestler. So what's their reaction? Did they go like, oh, huh? Are you crazy?
They thought I go playing. Even till this date today, Aiya, Ho Ho Lun, you don't go play lah. You come back Hong Kong, find a job lah. That's I'm not kidding. I got a job now. You saw me on TV, right? I did that for like 12 years, 13 years. I feed myself, I pay my bill. What are you talking about? But they thought I'm
still don't-
playing.
Yeah, they do not think that it's a proper job, basically.
It's a bit like about our earlier episode when we spoke to Alexis Lee, we spoke to the statement, we spoke to Sean, now he's Dante Chen, of course, and they also said that they went through a lot of good and bad comments, a lot of skepticism when they tell people, hey, I'm a professional wrestler. So I can imagine it to be worse for you, because you are like you going from Hong Kong into America, and of course you are the minority. So is it worse for you as far as skepticism is concerned?
I think These kind of concern only happen in Hong Kong. You know, when you go to America and your job is a wrestler, oh, okay, you're a wrestler, okay. If you're Japan, you're a wrestler. Oh, okay, you're a wrestler. Yeah, that's a good career. You know, you have the chance on TV every week. You have the chance to travel the world. You have the chance to travel to some little town and do shows for, very different kind of demographic. But I think in Hong Kong or in Singapore, I think Hong Kong the mindset is more Chinese than in Singapore. I think, Hong Kong people, the what job means to them means, you gotta be a lawyer, you gotta be a doctor, or you gotta be a teacher. You sit in an office, you get paid in an exact amount every month. That's Hong Kong people think what job is. This mindset doesn't exist in places outside Hong Kong. I mean, I think Singapore people are still more open-minded for jobs like professional wrestler. But Hong Kong, I think like only 1% or 2% people appreciate of what I did.
So wrestling in Asia and wrestling in the West is very different.
I don't say just wrestling. It's like the whole thing, the workplace atmosphere is also very different.
You gave up your full-time job to become full-time wrestler, right?
I will not use the word I gave up my full-time job. Because if I keep doing my full-time job, I gave up that dream to become a professional wrestler. Yeah, you're right. A lot of people, say that to me. Hey, you give up your full-time job. Wow, you work in a university, research. Wow, you do the teaching assistant, you do the lecturer. Wow, you make a lot of money. But why you do the wrestling and make like $100 per match? I said, no, I don't want to sit in the office throughout my life making $5,000 a month. I would rather travel the world and make $100 a day and, become more meaningful to me, to myself, because that's what I grow up and what I like since I was a child.
You're in Osaka, you were telling us.
Yes, I am in Japan right now. But since 2012, when I start to turn full time, I stay like a couple of years in the UK. I stay a couple of years in Japan, in America as well. I work in NXT for a year and a half, and then China. There's one point I produced a lot of show in China between 2007 and 2017 and 2019. So I live in China all the time. So, that's the lifestyle that I like.
So now you wrestle in Dragon Gate, you're saying? And
yes, I am.
You also wrestled for a while in America with WWE.
Yes, that was 2016 until 2017.
What was it like to work for them for like 2 years?
Actually, that was Cruiserweight Classic in 2016. I was only supposed to wrestle for them for like that tournament, and then that's it. But then after I wrestled my round 2 match, which I lost, I was asked by the NXT coach, say, hey, Ho Ho Lun, do you interested to stay in NXT for a while? Then I said, yeah, why not? So I was there since 2016, since the Cruiserweight Classic, until 2017. So the training is Monday through Friday. It's not very long. It's like 3 and 4 hours a day. But then when it comes to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we tour around Florida, sometime out of the state, but mainly in Florida. So morning we go to training, and then afternoon we start travel, and then we do the show in evening. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday is a longer day.
So it's like a full-time job in a sense, you see, because you go to work every day, like Monday to Saturday.
It is.
You were trained in NXT by many trainers, including like William Regal, which we know it's really big name. What is it like to train under such big names like William Regal?
So for example, William Regal, when he come down to the training, he don't demonstrate move. But then every time when you do something good or bad, he make a comment, on the ringside, and every time he talk, there's a wisdom in it. You gonna have some learning just talking to him, because he's long enough, and he have a different vision than everybody else. He see you something, he'll tell you exactly. He's very honest. And sometimes when he talk to me, there's some comment that I have never heard before. So there's a lot of intelligence just talking to him.
You got to work a lot with a lot of wrestlers now that are a lot more what we call the main roster in WWE. I think you worked with Andrade, Gargano, the Street Profits, Kemper, Otis. I have a a question here on our Instagram. We did some crowdsourcing for our for this interview, right? And that was actually one of the questions. One of the questions that came was from at PK Ashley. She said, "I would like to know who was your closest wrestling friend when you were in NXT." I think she means on the NXT WWE roster, of course.
That time when I was there, there's another Chinese dude, called Tian Bin, who is also my tag team partner. He's my housemate, so of course I'm very close with him. And then there's an Indian guy called Jit Rama who I always hang out with. Who else? Kenta. When Kenta was there, his name in NXT was what? Itami something. Andrade, yeah. Travel a lot with Andrade, with Nakamura. He was in NXT maybe like 3 years before me. So we trained in different groups. That morning, we just finished training. You going? Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, let's go. Kind of things like that. Yeah, I travel with them a lot, during Florida shows. So, in America, everybody like drive car. But in Japan, like in Dragon Gate, everybody like the company have a bus that you travel together, 20 person travel together. America, some people, they want to go home straight away after the show. And then some people want to stay in a hotel first. Then America, everything handled by yourself.
What was your best moment in that 2 years?
That's a very hard question. I don't have a best moment, but then every day was a good day,
I guess, I mean, almost at the, you feel like you really, do you like feel like you've made it because now you're in WWE?
Yeah, the first week. After that, oh yeah, it's the job.
And then, of course, we know that you had to leave because, I think your mother was ill. And that's completely understandable, of course. And it's the correct thing to do.
So I remember I was in Hong Kong for holiday in Hong Kong. So that time I was in NXT. And then I said, "Hey, Mom, where are you?" "I'm in hospital." "What are you talking about in hospital?" So that moment I went to the hospital and I find out that she has a very serious health issue. Then when I over my holiday, I go back to America. I was saying, yeah, my mom have a problem. She probably don't live for another 6 months, and then she gonna be over. So can I just quit my job and stay nearer to her? Actually, 9 months.
Oh, okay.
That's
So a bit longer.
That's a bit longer than what the doctor said. But I think doctor just give up a buffer.
Is there any time now when you look back and you think, man, if that didn't happen, I could stay longer than 2 years. I could be like those guys that I worked with, like, the Street Profits and Otis and all that, and be on Raw and SmackDown, and if only I stayed longer.
Yes, I think about that every day. We came in the NXT Performance Center around the same time. They were there, but I'm also in a very good position now in Dragon Gate, because Dragon Gate is actually the Japanese wrestling company that I watched growing up. We have WWF on Hong Kong TV, right, for free. But then if I want to watch Japanese wrestling, I don't speak Japanese.
I was just going to ask you, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't. I speak a little bit now. I just can barely order my food in a restaurant. Just, 2 months ago, I start ordering food in Japanese. But then the last 2 years, I only order food by this, and that pointing. So in the past, when I need to watch Japanese wrestling, I got to order Japanese DVD from an American web shop, online shop from America, because I don't speak Japanese. So the DVD that I watch actually traveled the world to come over to my house and put it on my DVD player to watch. And that time I was watching a lot of Dragon Gate. If I need to compare going to WWE and coming here to Dragon Gate, which one, make my life happier, I would say here.
But how do you feel about seeing your friends now that, hey, I was at NXT with you and now you're in the Royal Rumble?
We are still doing the same thing. We are still entertaining the fans in a different scale. But I mean, if it's not that a year and a half in NXT, I wouldn't be here in Dragon Gate. So this is life.
And which also leads me to this question we got online. It says, please ask Ho Ho Lun, what is the difference in the locker room atmosphere when you were in the Cruiserweight Classic in NXT and then in AEW?
I cannot describe what the atmosphere is like in AEW because I was only there for 2 days. So it is not accurate. But NXT and Cruiserweight Classic, the backstage, it's very diversified backstage. So most of us are not coming from NXT. Most of us come from different company, and then we just gather together and do this Cruiserweight Classic. So everyone, we don't know each other. Some of us might see each other in some other shows, but we don't see them every day. But in NXT, we work 6 days a week, so we see each other every day. We see each other more than our family, because a lot of them, even if they are American, they travel from the other state, come down to Florida, and take up this opportunity. We see each other more than we see our real family, so it's like a family. NXT backstage, everyone know each other. It's like 50-60 people in the backstage, but we can all have fun. We see each other every day, we train together. So yeah, NXT is more team spirit in NXT. Yeah, this is what I talk about.
I'm just imagining like you guys were in the ring beating each other up, and then after the show, like, okay, come, let's all be all friends again, and let's go hang out.
Yeah, basically that's what we did.
So I mean, I'm quite curious as well. It led you to being in Japan and staying there, and you've been there for like what, 3-4 years right now?
Yes, I actually came here the end of 2019. I supposed to stay here for 3 months to train and wrestle, and then the 3 months is over, and then they asked me if I like to extend for another 3 months. I say yes. So the moment I extend, there's COVID-19. So my 3 months extension become 3 years.
2 years.
But
So-
in that period, there wasn't wrestling, right? For various safety measures
I
and so
think
on.
in Japan we only stopped for about 2 months, and then we start doing show again, but in like 50% capacity. And the fans are not allowed to shout, so it's like watching
A silent movie.
Quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was it like? Because I've watched your shows as well, right? And it's quite interactive. Your own moves and stuff. It's very interactive. And now without that, how was it like during that period of time?
At first, it's very difficult at first, because it's not just my character. Wrestling itself require a lot of involvement from the live audience, to make it like a good show. So at first it's very difficult, but then after about like 6 months, the fans start, clapping hands and do all that. So it's only like a couple of months that we do this job very difficult, but then after that, that's all right. In Japan, it's all right.
They also the fans have started to learn as well
Yeah,
how to
they're still very
interact.
silent, but then they start clapping hands, and sometimes they can't hold their laugh, and then like that.
So
But
cute.
when like 200 people like trying to hold their laugh, it's still like you can still hear some reaction.
That's so
So
nice.
2022, of course, everything's all in better, everything's improved, crowds can be larger and all that. Of course, other big news in the wrestling industry as well is how Vince McMahon, we know that he's the chairman of WWE before he retired, for various reasons. Of course, you don't need to go into that. So the new chairman's in place. Everybody would know him as Triple H. If you followed wrestling in the 90s,
I
you would
do
know
know
Triple H.
I don't know a lot of
Exactly, I
people.
know.
I know Triple
So-
H.
So my question to you is that did you ever meet either of them when you were in NXT? And if you did, what were they like? Or was it all just on email like, oh guys, you got to do this?
Triple H, when I was there 2016-17, he came down here every NXT show. So I basically see him not every week. That time NXT was on live. They tape it like 3 episodes every 3 weeks. So I basically see Mr. Triple H every 3 weeks. He was a very nice person. Every time when we do a team meeting, he's very motivational. Yeah, we guys doing good, and it's just very motivational. When he come down, and then he's the main person who give creative direction, and everybody respect him in the back. If we see Triple H, if you have an idea, if he has time, he'll listen to your idea. If you pitch him an idea, yeah, he's such a good leader. Vince McMahon, I only met him once and just shake his hand, and then yeah, he's super busy. He's a busy man. Vince McMahon was
Of
there
course.
every Raw and SmackDown, no matter where they go. WWE, they tour the entire country. So today he's in West Coast, and tomorrow he might be in the East Coast, and then Wednesday he might be in Saudi Arabia doing all this meeting. So he's a really busy man. So I got to able to just shake his hand. Yeah, my name is Ho Ho Lun. I don't really pitch idea. I was only there for 1 year. The moment that I left, I still try to figure it out, where to get what, and how to get this better. 1 year is not enough to get things. I was here in Dragon Gate, like this is my 3rd year, and I just been able to. The first the other problem is that I don't speak Japanese, right? But then I just start picking it up. Who do what and where to get what, those kind of stuff.
Oh, right. So, how do you feel about this change now? Because the product is clearly very different, right? I mean, it hasn't been a very long time; it's been a few months, but we can see changes in the product. So, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, they used to fire a lot of people, right? And every month we see news about yeah, we're releasing like 10 of them, we're releasing 20 of them. But then the good news is the last how many months already? 3 months already, right?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
The only news that I saw is like they hire somebody back, so this is only good for business.
So I think we're all very curious to know, because this podcast is a lot of media and creative individuals and freelancers, and many of them will come from media and events background. So I think they probably want to know, if you look at wrestling as an event, and especially when you're in NXT, what was a day in your life if let's say you had a show? Is it, as you said, you trained in the morning, then you quickly rushed off to the show, or was there a lot more to it?
So that was the house show that I talk about. So house show, since we have like 50 people there, so there's a small house show in Florida where the wrestler themselves build the ring and the lightings. That's the small house show.
6 hours.
Yes. There's a bigger house show which do out of the state that we only need to travel because the travel already takes so long. So we only travel, wrestle, and go home. When it's NXT taping, that time the taping still happen in Full Sail University. So there's an event hall that's empty most of the time. Nowadays they do it in the performance center, I think. So everything is set there already. So you just only need to show up and the ring is there. But then that time was Full Sail University. You got to build the ring, and the lighting change every time because that's an event hall. So they do different events.
It's a university, so
if it's not an NXT day, so for that time we actually prepare a day before because there's so many lightings, and then you see the fireworks, and then the stage. Sometimes they got the how to say, the thing to come up,
right?
Hydraulic.
Yeah, so like that one we prepare a day before. If it's pay-per-view, of course. If it's WrestleMania, they prepare a month before because they need to turn a stadium into a wrestling ring. It depends on the scale of the show. If it's so big or if it's like so small that treat 150 fans. There's different.
So I'm also very curious, right? Very practical questions I have. You moved overseas to somewhere where you don't even speak the language, right? Maybe in school before that you already learned. Of course, you know Chinese, your Cantonese, your English, and then you move to somewhere where you totally don't speak the language, and 3 years on, you're learning the language. How is it like, because I think for us, at least a lot of freelancers here in Singapore, we are always thinking of like, I want to go overseas, and Japan is a very popular country. What was it like for you?
I'll tell you an interesting story. So I first came to Singapore maybe 2013. So they said, Singapore speak Chinese and English. So yeah, and then that time SPW was just first started. And then I have like a 6 month of no plan going on. So I come to Singapore. I stay like 3-4 months, I remember, to help them with some training. But that time I only wrestled for like 3 years. But then still more than most of them. So I come down and, help them with some training. So we talk on Facebook first. Messenger, we speak English, Chinese here, no problem. First day I come down here, the English I don't understand. The Chinese I also don't understand. Because you guys mix a lot of Chinese with English, and the English is not the real
Chinese,
English.
It's not English.
So I was like, you guys speak English or what? Because that time I just came back from UK. So my accent still got a little bit British. I still eat fish and chips and drink tea, things like that. So I come down, I thought the English is something like that. This is the first time I was in Singapore, so, I don't know, right? So I come down, what are you talking about? I actually don't know. The first week I'm in Singapore, I was like so confused. I met Andrew. Andrew talked so fast, right? Alexis Lee talked even faster. I was like, wait, you 说中文好不好？说中文啊？好啦，说中文。Then the 中文 I also don't understand.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've met a few like foreigners who just came over to Singapore, right? Said I thought I know English. I came to Singapore, I have to learn English all over again.
Yeah lah, and then the 中文都不一样嘞。中文我说那广东话会吧？广东话 Then I find out Cantonese is not young people don't speak Cantonese, only old people. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's the
that's
fact
right.
or not. Then,
I think it's in Singapore that generally is the case because we don't do like Hong Kong. You do school in Cantonese, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't. They don't do school in Cantonese
Like
here.
even
so.
Chinese is a struggle.
But you can ask Alexis Lee to speak to you in Cantonese. I think it'd be funny.
She cannot. Her Mandarin is also like so fast that 不懂。So yeah, this is the thing that I want to mention. So I thought I know Chinese and English, so I come to Singapore, I don't understand anything. And then there's one point I was living in Chongqing, 中国 Chongqing, Sichuan Chongqing, So I thought they speak Mandarin. And then the Mandarin, they got so much the R sound. So, I also don't understand. Even we speak the same language, we don't understand. But then, the time passed and then I stay there, I get used to it. So it's okay now. I think even in Japan, I speak zero Japanese when I come to Japan 2019. And then I don't know, people are saying about me or, they're trying to, say good about me. In Singapore or in Chongqing, China, took me like a couple of weeks to get used to it. In Japan, took me 2 years. But then it's fun. In coming back to Japan here now, I don't feel like, I don't know what's the word in English. 没有那个海外感。
You don't feel like you're going overseas, I would
Yes.
say. Yeah.
So in Japan, when I come down to Singapore, I don't feel the 海外感 also. I come to Singapore, I feel like home, I eat the Chinese food. The food is so nice. And then I was in Singapore and Thailand for like 3 weeks last month. Then I come back to Japan, I feel like, I'm coming back home, It's not my home. I don't speak the language, but I feel like home. I was in America last year, right, for AEW and for all that. So I haven't been in America since 2017, so it's like 3 years away. Oh no, 5 years away from my last visit. Then the moment I land New York, get on my rental car, then I feel like home. So, that these 10 years just developed the thing to my inner self that everywhere is home. 我没有海外呢，我没有 overseas 呢， everything is home.
It's really like the world is your home.
One question we got online is, so after all you've experienced now, will you go back and take part in a Cruiserweight Classic again if they held one?
Yeah, if I got an invitation, of course I will do it. And America is always fun to do. The fans there is the most energetic one, The fans in Japan, they clap hands, they don't shout a lot, The fans here are a little bit shy, but in America, all the drunk, they get drunk. Even some sober people, they're so crazy, they shout so loud. Which give me a lot of energy in the ring. So it would be enjoyable, if I can do a match again in America.
So now Osaka is your home.
I actually have a lot of home. If I come to Singapore, I feel like home also. I come to Singapore, I know places that Andrew don't know. Hey, come to eat with me lah. Well, how come you know more than me?
Right now, at this moment, so if you live in Osaka and you do a lot of work in Japan, Japan we know has quite a wrestling culture. In Asia, I think the wrestling culture is the strongest. So you see a lot of Japanese wrestlers going abroad. I mean, you mentioned Nakamura. That's my personal favorite wrestler. Hi Nakamura, if you're listening. Asuka, Io Shirai, they all come to mind. We see the reverse. We see wrestlers going to Japan, AJ Styles, Robert Roode, etc. They come to mind too. I'm sure there's many more. In your view, why is it that Japan has this extra strong wrestling culture versus all of Asia? What are they doing different from other Asian countries?
I think, in my opinion, they respect sport person more than a lot of Asian countries. So, I mean, if you grow up in Singapore, you want to be a footballer, which is the number one popular sports there, you still got scolded by your mom because what the hell, you want to become a footballer? You're gonna eat when you grow up and you don't have money there, right? But then in Japan it's different. In Japan, you want to be a footballer. Okay, the mom and dad are going to send them in, summer school and make sure the kid actually likes it. If we find out the kid likes it, yeah, become a footballer is okay, because this country, we respect sports persons so much. And actually there's an Olympic team, and we can go to the World Cup and do all that. There's a platform. Even the parents doesn't like it, but I know Japan is still very Asian. It's still an Asian country, but we treat athlete in a different sort of dimension. And also there's a platform, the football league. And then we see people who get successful in Europe, in America, all that. So you have seen people who success in the past that give parents the confidence to send their kid to do something which considered risky for their career, but there's no risk at all. Everything you do, there's a lesson to learn. So this is my mindset, but this is not very Asian.
So here's a very Asian question for you, since you mentioned that. It came in also on our Instagram, and it's for Mark Tan LS. He says, I would like to know normally how are wrestlers paid? Is it by the month? I think because a lot of freelancers, which we know in our industries, work by, we are daily, we paid by the gig, right? We're paid by the day, we are paid by the, and so on. So does it work the same for wrestling? Like you're paid by the match, or you're paid by
Yeah, in America, there's something we call independent wrestler, which means they don't have a contract. Like AEW, they give contract. WWE, they give contract. So when give contract, of course, there's monthly salary or yearly bonus and things like that. But there's a lot of us called independent contractor. We pay by match, or if we sell a certain amount of ticket and we get a certain amount of percentage. This work exactly the same as every sort of business. And then wrestling, if you don't have a contract, you pay by match, sometimes a few hundred, sometimes if you're good enough, pay you 1,000, things like that. A lot of new rookies who wrestle for like only 1 or 2 years, they need more ring time, they need exposure. Some promoter take advantage of that and pay them a hot dog. Yeah, that's a joke that we always make when we wrestle in America. Yeah, that's when. But when you're a new guy, you don't have drawing power. You don't draw fans. You get paid a hot dog. That's the joke that we always talk about. But in some way, that's quite true sometimes. But if you're good enough, you get paid a few $1,000s for match. Sometimes if it's over 10,000 for match, also exists.
Well, that's a big range, huh?
Yeah, that's huge range.
And if you don't mind us asking, because you've had a lot of experience, clearly. You've been all over the world. You've been east, you've been west, and so on, and you've living essentially most of your life is a large portion of your life is as a freelancer, I guess, the way you described it, by the match and so on. How does this affect your psychology towards life? Like, what is your psyche of living? Because you sound really happy.
Yeah, as I said, if I stay in an office and do my job in the university, I got paid a fixed monthly salary. Sometimes I just sit there, do nothing, but I still get paid for the day. But then as a freelancer, you got to work hard to get your money, because you're not get paid fixed. You work one day, they pay you one day. But if you do something extra, for example, you sell a ticket, you sell some T-shirts, you sell something else, they pay you more. So I think this is more motivation to life. When it comes to freelancer, you need to be more creative to make ends meet, because you can't sit there and wait for the company to give you direction. Because when you're a freelancer, you don't have a company. You are your own company. You are your own manager to motivate you. Going to America actually is just very simple thing. But if I make a theme of it, like Ho Ho Lun US tour, Ho Ho Lun Asia tour, that would make the fans easier to remember who I am. And the other promoter, the local promoter, will also be very more interested, to see Ho Ho Lun Asia tour. Wow, this Ho Ho Lun tour come to Thailand and then come to Singapore. Yeah, we can do something like that. In their point of view, they save their cost, because I travel like every time, not one way ticket. It's easier. They split my cost, and then they also know that I travel a lot. not only wrestle, every time when I travel to a country like Thailand, even to Singapore, since I have my experience in Japan and in America, I share a lot of knowledge. That share my experience, tell them my story. Sometimes it's not about wrestling skills; it's about what you have seen overseas. Sometimes you've seen so much, then you need to share this experience, so for them they don't repeat, they don't make the same mistake, so they don't waste their time and all that. So it's more than wrestling skill when I tour in Asia, to tell them what's the real wrestling world is about in America and in Japan.
And this is where this question comes in, because we got a question on our Instagram from none other than The Statement. And he says, the Statement wonders if Ho Ho Lun is man enough to face him again for a rematch in a submission match.
Why is it submission match? Why isn't it not a normal match pinning 1, 2, 3? Why does it have to be submission? Yeah, Statement is already in his home country now and he's making the rule now for me. What the hell is thinking? Wrestling is like pinning somebody 1, 2, 3. I don't want to submit him. I just want to pin him 1, 2, 3. Statement is a little bit crazy, making rules for wrestling. What's he talking about?
Singapore Pro Wrestling (SPW) will be celebrating their 10th anniversary with 2 nights of pro wrestling action. Here's champion Alexis Lee with this message.
Ho Ho, the first ever AEW Women's Champion. Is that not good enough for you? Me, Suruga, trained by the legendary Amy Sakura. But I've wrestled Sakura all around Asia, and for the past few years, I've kicked her ass. So what? Newsflash, girls. It's my ring, my country, my hometown. For the past 9 years, I've been wrestling. I've been digging my way up from the bottom to get to where I am now. Think that's gonna make it easy for you guys to come into my ring and beat me? So the 3 of us at SPWX Astronomical Anniversary for the Queen of Asia title. I'm gonna beat your asses, bitches.
Catch Alexis Lee, AEW Women's Champion Riho, WWE and ECW legend Taijiri, SPWC Champion Aiden Rex, Ho Ho Lun, The Statement Andrew Tang, Chris Brooks, and many, many more. SPW Astronomical Anniversary, November 24th and 25th, 7 p.m. at Fucha Building. Get your tickets now at the QR code below or at brownpapertickets.com.
You've become quite a marketing person for yourself as well. You've become quite creative in the way you promote. Which is interesting, right? Because you don't think about it, right? If people think about, I'm just going to wrestle, that means I'm just going to wrestle. But actually, if you want to rise in your own career, it's also very different from, say, being a website designer.
For me, because I'm not the most athletic person, I'm not the flippy person. You see, they go to the top rope and do 3 flip. If they're that good, then the market is gonna market them. But then I'm just an average athletic person. So the market see me, oh, okay, that's Ho Ho Lun, oh, okay. Then they're not gonna help me market me. So I need to, think about an idea, a slogan for them to, yeah, Ho Ho Lun Asia too. Oh, that's so much fun. Let's have him come down here to, do a match for us. That's the mindset. If I wrestle so good, I do flips. So what I need to do is just to share that 3 seconds of me flipping on social media, and then somebody will call me.
Okay,
Yeah,
we want you. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm very average. I know I'm
You
not
are
very
so humble.
wrestling. Yeah.
You are so humble, Ho Ho Lun. Like, I'm an average wrestler, yeah, but where have you wrestled? Oh, WWE.
Yeah, I'm very average.
Do you think in terms of, the industry that you're in, right, you feel like you're average, whether you are or not, your skill sets?
To be honest with you, I'm 35 this year. It's sometimes there's no motivation for me to work harder anymore. When I was like 20 something, yeah, I need to work harder. I've been here, how to kill passion is you make the passion your full-time job. And this is my full-time job for so many years now. So this is a very honest mentality that I have. But I mean, that's why I always evolve having a new goal. If I have the same goal all the time, I feel tired. You see,
I think it's very important what you said, because being passionate and working on your passion versus I love what I do is completely two separate things,
Yeah, but
isn't it?
it is, I love what I do. I still have the passion, but then I still need to evolve. I change my goal all the time. If not, I feel bored. You know, like when I was in NXT, I have the goal, to perform on TV. So I work hard. Then I come back. I want to produce more show. So I work towards producing. And then now I'm in Japan now, first of all, I need to understand the Japanese first. I don't know what they're talking about sometimes. So I need to learn more Japanese, the language, and then to try to work together and, do things with the company. Dragon Gate is the company that I watched when I first, when I was a kid. So I want to do something with Dragon Gate, and I believe this is a very, the wrestling here is on a different level, in a different style. I don't know if you have watched Dragon Gate before, but if you watch it, you'll find out the style is very different from most of the wrestling outside. Even in Japan, they have a very unique style. That's why I want to bring Dragon Gate, maybe to Singapore. More people, can enjoy watching a different style of wrestling. This is the thing that I'm working on right now. So keep changing my goal is the way I keep my passion on.
And I think you were talking about shifting goals, and you said I think you mentioned one of your goals was to create a very healthy wrestling culture or
Yes,
something in
yes,
Southeast.
yes.
What do you mean by a healthy wrestling culture in Southeast Asia? What is healthy?
There's a lot of wrestler, or not a lot. I believe it's 100%. Like Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, whereas Malaysia, Vietnam, they are new wrestling company. My new is like younger than 10 years old, but then all of the wrestler, they have a daytime job to do, and wrestling they only do it as a side hobby. Don't even make money for most of them. They do show only like once every 2-3 shows, but a lot of them I know they want to, I want to become a wrestler, I want to perform every day. But then this is what they are thinking. But then actually they're having a full-time job, and I need to meet my girlfriend tonight. I don't come to train. I need to OT. My boss need to OT. I don't come to train. So what they have in mind is contradict to what they are actually doing. But then this is something understandable because wrestling doesn't make a lot of money. This is the unhealthy thing that I'm talking about. They're doing something that contradict to their mind. I want more, wrestling fans, if they pay for the ticket, if they want to come to see wrestling show every month, then financially it can support, the wrestling company to run more healthily. And at the end, okay, if Vietnam we can do 2 shows a month, Singapore we can do 2 shows a month, Thailand we can do 2 shows a month, then in this area we have already 6 shows, then it can support at least the top wrestler. If I perform 6 shows a month, maybe it can pay my bills and buy me food already. So this is the healthy that I'm talking about. You are doing something that you like. Like when I first started, I choose to go to UK because shows are there every weekend. So if I'm hardworking enough, I can work like 12 shows a month, which can pay everything off. So I want to, because in Asia travel is so easy. Like even now after COVID, I can travel to Singapore, Malaysia, just like pre-COVID, right? So travel become easy now. So I want to create the wrestling scene here as big as it is in America. Southeast Asia is like it's like smaller the size than America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can travel actually quite easily in a 2-hour flight. We can travel in the morning to, let's say, Philippines to do a show in the evening. Then the next day we can do a show in Thailand. This is that easy. So I hope to create something like this in Southeast Asia. It takes time, but yeah, you know what I
So
mean.
for people who would like to enter the industry that you're in, what kind of advice would you give to them?
First of all, you need to find out: do you want to do this just for hobby, or do you want to do this just for the weekend to entertain your friends, or you want to do this as a full-time career? You will find out when you start training for maybe 1 or 2 months. Then if you are doing it for hobby, or if you just want to do it performing like once a month for the weekend, okay, that's understandable. But if you want to be a real wrestler to pursue a career, as a wrestler, then you need to evaluate, your full-time job, and then you will gonna be it for a couple of years with no money. But then if you can pass through that, that's gonna be okay. I also ate for a couple of years in England. The first show that I attend, they take advantage of me being a new guy. They pay me £5.
Really, a hot dog
£5 for
lor.
the day.
The hot
Yes.
dog.
And
Yeah.
You can't even. That's not even hot dog.
there's not even hot dog. The train already take me £5.50 and they pay me £5.
Oh my goodness, so expensive there. I'm sorry.
But then that's my first few shows, and I understand that. I think that £5 is not paid for my fee. It's like a reimbursement of the
The
train
train,
fee
yeah.
or something.
Half your train, half your
But
train.
then that's the process that you need to go through. It's like when you go to a real job. Let's say if you want to be a photographer, you still need to pay like $20,000 to go to a photographer school and to get a license, a certificate, and then somebody will hire you to become a photographer. That $20,000 is actually equal to the that I eat. You know what I mean? So
It's your school, basically.
This is my school fee. The 2 years is my school fee, but then it's in a different way.
I'm very interested to know then, what is your relationship with money, Ho Ho Lun? I mean, what is your psychology towards money?
I don't know. I don't do saving. I spend all my makeup every month, so I just enjoy my life. I don't have philosophy to money. Really don't have.
Is that a concern for you? Because I think you live in Hong Kong, right? We all know Hong Kong is notoriously expensive. Housing is oh my god,
yes.
it's so expensive. So is it a very big concern for you and your family that you're living this way?
That's why I don't live in Hong Kong anymore.
So I don't think we'll be buying a house in Hong Kong anytime soon.
No, I don't think the bank want to mortgage money to me because I spend all my money every month.
So here's a question that we ask all our guests, right? When do you think you were the most uncool then, and what would your current self say to your past self then?
If I say I don't have a lowest point, would you believe that?
I know. I was thinking that was it perhaps like when your mom was having problems and you had to go back and you had to give up WWE and so on.
Then the moment I quit my job in America, when I go back to Hong Kong, there's a Macau promoter who already get in touch with me, and then they want to do a wrestling show in Macau. So, that's really great timing. And then I moved to Macau. Macau is like an hour away from Hong Kong. That's that easy. And then I can actually finish my work and go back to Hong Kong and have my dinner. So that's not a big deal.
And of course, spend time with your mom.
Yes. So that 6 months is great. Macau is a great city. You know where Macau is? It's like the Las Vegas of China.
Yeah.
Hotels, casino, everywhere. It's 24-hour nonstop. So Macau is fun. The ferry to Hong Kong is like 24 hours, so I can go home whenever I want. And living in Macau is so much fun. The entertaining city, I think. So yes, there's one point I feel very uncool when I quit my job, but then next minute, I got that new job in Macau, which, I can take care of my mom and at the same time live in Macau, at the same time do wrestling as well, wrestling and producing, which I enjoy a lot. I didn't produce a lot in America. Not a lot. I cannot produce in America. I'm just a wrestler. But then in Macau, I do both. So, I feel uncool myself for maybe like 3 days. And then when I get this new job, everything's sorted.
I just love different guests that we've seen on this show. In one way or another, they all love their jobs a lot. And I feel that there's one lesson that I've learned, talking to all of you, and including you, Ho Ho, which is, I think when you actually love what you do, you have pride in it, you put, you dedicate your life to it. In one way or another, things will straighten out for you.
Yeah, it happens a lot of time to me like that.
So, Ho Ho Lun, if people want to follow you on your socials, right, where can they find you? And if they want to, drop you a message.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. It's HOHOLUN 719. Yeah, just drop me a DM if you want to come to Japan and watch wrestling live and you don't speak the language. DM me and I'll handle it for you.
You can also check out www.prowrestlingtees and search for Ho Ho Lun. You can find some Ho Ho Lun merchandise. That, of course, would be supporting him for his Asian tours, which he's taking very seriously. And on that note of serious, I so seriously hope that you drop us a like, you subscribe to our podcast if you haven't already.
That's right, you can get updates on our new episodes as well as catch up on our old episodes, drop us a 5-star rating, leave us a review, and just support us because it's cool to be uncool.
Like this show? Then rate it 5 stars and subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Uncool is a podcast by Creatives at Work. It is produced, written, and hosted by Sean Lee Win Chong and co-hosted by Yenling Lo, co-produced by Raven Lim, and edited by Ray Ng. Uncool. It's cool to be uncool.
On the next episode of Uncool,
What is your philosophy when it comes to, what is success to you?
Quite honestly speaking, if you're not happy, don't do it. I put myself in a situation where I stayed in a job for 10 years and I was very unhappy.
Uncool, new episodes every Saturday.